DOM or Document Object Model is an audit in the Google PHP Insights. I'm pretty sure you have seen this before, but if you haven't, you are lucky. The thing is, every single element you use on your page, be it a paragraph, a container, an advanced column, a link, an image, a button, or whatever, adds to something, right? All these elements by itself are called nodes, and if you combine all of them on your web page, it's called DOM size. So whatever elements you have on your web page adds to the DOM size. And do you know every single Gutenberg block adds a different number to the DOM size? Okay, back up a little. Why should you care, right? It is because Google PHP Insights flags this audit if your web page violates either one of the three things which I'm about to share with you. And in this video, I will also be sharing with you the number of DOM elements each Kadence block brings with it. With that knowledge, you will know how to skirt around this audit because there is literally no plugin that will help you optimize for this. I am going to explore the Kadence Blocks first because it is the most popular Gutenberg block plugin. If you're using other block plugins and you want me to explore it, I will do another video if there is a lot of interest. So do leave a comment down below and let me know which Gutenberg block plugin you are interested in. Anyway, before we get into the details, I hope you can smash that thumbs up button for the YouTube algorithm. If you have done that, thank you, and let's go. Hey, this is Jack, and if this is your first time watching a video from my channel, I share a lot of WordPress tips and tutorials as well as affiliate marketing content. So if you want to learn any of these topics, then subscribe to the channel and hit the bell notification. My only goal is to share with you ways to save lots of money for your online business using WordPress. I don't use any page builders and site speed is my main focus. And if you're running an online business and you're paying hundreds of dollars to make your website work, subscribe and you will become a money saving expert for your online business. Now, before we get into the details, we need to understand what DOM is and why Google flags this audit. DOM is simply the acronym of Document Object Model. Every web page will have a Document Object Model. So to put it simply, every title, every paragraph, every link, and everything on your website are called nodes individually. But when you combine all of them, it is translated as DOM size. So every paragraph you write on a web page adds to the DOM size. Every link you insert adds to the DOM size as well. So if your article is super long with 10,000 words and above, you can expect a large DOM size. And that's where you need to find opportunity to split the long content into shorter content. Now, the distance between each node and the root element is known as depth, and the elements below each parent node are called child nodes. PHP Insights will flag this audit when a page has more than 1,500 nodes, and the depth is greater than 32 nodes, and any one parent node that has more than 60 child nodes. Okay, back to this. We are doing this test on the Kadence Blocks version 2.10, and in case you're watching this video a few months down the road and your data is different from mine, you will know whether the Kadence team has improved or they have gone the other way. But generally, I think there won't be much difference in terms of the DOM size of these Gutenberg blocks unless Kadence has made a drastic change to its platform. But anyway, let's get right into the topic. Okay, let's first create a blank page and test it on Google PHP Insights because that will be our base data we'll compare against each of the Kadence blocks. So on our WordPress dashboard, let's go to Post and Add New. We'll name this page as Kadence Blocks DOM Test, and let's publish this. And let's copy this link, and over at the Google PHP Insights, let's paste this link and analyze. Okay, we won't bother much about all this data. What we need to look at is the excessive DOM size. So for the blank page, we have a total of 140 DOM elements, and the maximum DOM depth is 19, and we have a maximum child elements of 9. So this is the data of the blank page. Let's test the first Kadence block. So the first block we're going to test is the spacer/divider. Let's select this. And we're basically going to test the default settings for each of these blocks first. And then we'll play around with it and make sure that we use all the functions of this block so that we can discover the maximum DOM size for each of the blocks. So let's update this. Let's first see how it looks right now. So as you can see, this is the blank page and we have a divider over here. I hope you can see this. This is actually very faint, but the block is there. So over on the Google PHP Insights, let's test the same page again. Let's scroll down and check it out. So as we can see, comparing the DOM elements of the previous blank page test, this divider block adds 4 elements and the rest remain unchanged. The next step is, let's adjust the settings of this spacer. And let's update. And let's test this again. And as you can see, the default setting for the spacer was 144, and we have adjusted all the settings and stuff, and now it lands on 149. So I would say the maximum DOM size of this spacer is 9, because there are not many design elements for this block, unlike blocks like row layouts or info box or even the button, because you can add multiple buttons within each block, and for those cases we can't ascertain the maximum DOM size. But for the divider block, we can certainly say the maximum DOM size is 9. So now let's remove the previous block and let's add a new block. This time around we will add advanced button. Let's put some text here and let's update. And over at the page, let's refresh this. So this is the block we are testing now. Let's copy this, paste it here and analyze. So as you can see, the default button adds 5 elements to the total DOM size. And what if we edit the button to its maximum potential? And we're basically done. Let's update this and refresh this page. So this is how the button looks like with all the cool settings. Let's test this now. And as you can see, the DOM elements jumps to 152. There's no change to the maximum DOM depth, but there is a 2-point change to the maximum child elements. And what if we add button number 2? And let's update this and refresh. And as you can see, it increases to 160 from 152, but the child elements remain the same. And what if you add the third button? And let's update this. And if we go to the page, we can see 3 buttons here. And let's test this. We can see that each button adds a total of 8 elements to the DOM size. So I would say the DOM size for the default button is 5 and the maximum DOM size for an advanced button is 12. But for each successive button you add, it will increase the DOM size by 8. Now let's remove that button. And let's add a new block. We'll test out row layout towards the end of the video because this is very complicated. So we'll skip this for now and let's go to icon. So this is the default icon. Let's update and let's refresh it on the page. And over at the Google PHP Insights, let's test this. And over here you can see that the icon is present. So we are testing the right element. And here we go. The default icon adds 12 DOM elements. And let's test this to the full extent. And here we go, we have changed all the settings for this block. Let's update this. Let's refresh it on the page. And this is how it looks like. Now let's test it. As you can see, Google PHP Insights has picked up the new icon. And there is no change to the total DOM elements, which is great. And how about we add more items? Maybe 2. Let's refresh this and test this again. And as you can see, the total DOM elements has increased to 162 from 152. And if we add the third icon, let's update, refresh, and let's test this. So each successive icon will add 10 elements. So I would say the default DOM size for the icon is 12. The maximum DOM size for an icon is 12 as well. But for each successful icon you add, it will increase the DOM size by 10. Now let's remove the icons and let's add the next block, advanced heading. So this is the default header block settings. Let's update this, let's refresh, and let's test this. As you can see, PHP Insights has picked this up, so we know we are on the right track. For the DOM size, it adds 2 elements, which is great. We don't want a header block that adds a lot of elements to the page. But now let's test this to the full extent. Okay, we're done with all the settings. Let's update this and let's refresh this page. I know this is not the best looking header, but we're not in the beauty contest. So let's just test this. And as you can see, with all the additional settings, the maximum value it can go is 145, which is an addition of 5 elements. And as for the child elements, it adds 2 to it. So basically, the default header adds 2 elements to the DOM size, and the maximum DOM size for the advanced header is 5, and it adds 2 to the child elements. So now let's test the next element. Let's delete this and let's add the next element. Let's select tabs. And for this, we have to test 4 different styles. But let's start with this. Let's update this, refresh this, and let's test this again. So for the default tab block, it adds a total of 21 elements to the DOM size. And it also adds 1 child element. Now let's play around with the settings. Now the thing about tab is that you can add other Gutenberg blocks to each of these tabs. So the maximum DOM size for this tab block, it really depends on what you add to each of these tabs. But for now, let's just add a paragraph block to each of these tabs. And then we're going to change the settings of it. So let me adjust all the settings. So we're done with all the settings. Let's update this and refresh, and this is how our tab looks like. And let's test this on Google PageSpeed Insights. So as you can see, the more adjustments you make to this tab block, the more it adds to the DOM size. The maximum DOM size for this block, it adds a total of 39 elements, and it adds 1 child element as well. But what if we add more tabs? So let's say we add another tab. This is tab number 4. Let's update this, refresh, and let's test this again. So as you can see, every tab you add, it adds 10 to the DOM size. Now what if we change the design of this? Because as you know, when we have selected this block, there are a total of 4 designs. So let's add another tab block, and this time around, let's select something different like this. Let's remove the previous block. Let's add a paragraph to each of the tab, and let's update this and refresh. Now let's test this. Now remember the first design we chose, the total DOM size was 161, but for this design, it's 173. And I don't think I need to adjust the settings for this because we know the total DOM size of this design is going to be more than the first design. So let's test the next design. Let's remove this, add another tab block. Let's select the second design, add paragraph, update, refresh, and let's test this again. Now this design adds lesser elements than the previous, but it still adds more to the first element. And let's test the final design. Let's update, refresh, and let's test this. Now the result for this is exactly the same as the previous, and I think the DOM size for the first design we have selected is exactly the same as this design. It's just that for the first design we didn't add the paragraph for this 3 tab because 1 paragraph adds 1 element, and the DOM elements for the first design were 161, so it adds up. So I would say the DOM size for the default tab block is 24, and the maximum DOM size for 3 tabs is 39 elements, and it adds 1 child element. So if I were you and I'm selecting the tab block, I will make sure not to select the 4th design. Let's select info box. Let's update this, refresh the page, and let's test this. Now as you can see, for the info box, it adds a total of 19 elements to the DOM size. And if we test it to the full extent, and here we go, we have adjusted this info box to the full extent. So let's update this, refresh the page, and now let's test this. Now as you can see, with all the adjustments, we've only added 2 extra elements. And the good thing about this block is that you can toggle the title settings off, you can toggle the text off, and every element you turn off, the DOM size will be reduced. Now there are a few more elements we want to test. So let's turn this on, and as you can see at the top, there are different layout presets. So if we select a different layout and update this, and let's refresh this. Remember previously it was 161. Let's test this again. It's the same value. Now let's test another layout just to make sure it has no difference. And here we go. Whichever layout you choose for the info box, it has no difference in terms of the DOM size. But the DOM size can be reduced if you remove elements within it. Now let's give Accordion a test. Let's select the first design, type in some text, and let's update this, refresh, and let's test this. So by default, the Accordion block adds 23 DOM elements, and it adds 1 to the child elements. And now let's test this to the full extent. And here we go. Let's update this, refresh, and let's test this out. So there is no change at all. Now what if we add another accordion item? So let's add the third accordion. And let's update this. And let's refresh. So by adding one extra accordion, we have added a total of 9 elements. So honestly, between using tabs and accordion to display your content, I would prefer to use accordion because it adds lesser elements to the DOM size. So now let's test the icon list. Let's say we only have one item. Let's update this and let's test this. So the icon list adds a total of 9 elements. And what if we add a second item? From 149 DOM elements, we have added 6 elements to it. And I'm pretty sure every additional item you add, the DOM elements will increase by 6. So now let's test the testimonial block. And as always, let's select the first layout. Let's type in the text. And let's update this. And let's do the test. So from here, we can basically see the default testimonial block adds 19 elements to the DOM size. And if we edit this to the full extent, and here we go. As you notice, there are many variables for this block. Let's update this and see how many DOM elements are added to this 159 elements. So in total, it adds 39 elements to the DOM size. Now what happens if this testimonial block becomes a carousel? Before that, let's make this a grid so that we know the total elements of the grid because we need more than one testimonial item to make up the carousel. So let's update this and test this. So there is a total of 251 DOM elements. Let's change this to a carousel and let's update this. Let's refresh the page. Before that, let's add some text to it. Let's update this. Before that, I just want to make sure that what I've just added do not add to this value. So let's just test this again. So great, there's no change, which is good. So now let's change this to carousel. And let's test this. So as you can see, by changing the grid testimonial block into a carousel block, the total DOM elements have increased drastically. It increases the DOM depth as well as the child elements. So just take note of that. If you happen to use a testimonial carousel block on your page and you need to reduce the DOM size, you may want to consider changing this block into something else. So now let's test the advanced gallery block. For starters, we'll add one of this image and let's insert this to the gallery and update. If we refresh this and we test this, we can see that the advanced gallery adds 12 elements to the DOM size and it adds 3 to the child elements. So what if we add the second image, but the second image will be the same as the first? So let's go to the media library and select the same image and let's update this gallery. And now we can see that the two images are identical. Let's check the size of the image and make sure that they are of the same size. So this is 851 KB and the second image as well. So we are good to go. Let's test this. So adding an identical image adds 6 elements to it. But what if the second image is of a smaller size? Honestly, I don't think there will be much difference because the DOM elements are all about the codes and scripts. The size of the image doesn't matter, but let's just test this. So let's remove the second image and let's add the second image. And this is 13 kilobytes. Let's add to gallery, update, and let's test this. So as we can see, there is basically no difference. And I believe every additional image you add to the advanced gallery will add an additional 6 elements. So let's just test this and see if the total DOM elements will become 164. And here we go. So by default, the advanced gallery will add 12 elements to the DOM size and it increases the child elements by 3. But every additional image you add, it will only add additional of 6 elements to the DOM size. So now let's do the most interesting block, which is the form block, because I think there are a lot of variables in this. So by default, there are 3 fields from this block. Let's update this, refresh this page, and let's test this. As you can see, by default, the form block adds 23 elements to the DOM size, and it also adds 2 to the child elements. Now, what if we remove this message because most of the time we don't need this? Would that make a difference? Let's test this out. So by removing the text field, we have reduced the DOM elements by 4. And from here, let's stress test this block. So we have turned on every possible element on this block, which is over the top honestly, because we certainly do not need to turn on every single email autoresponder service here, because I believe every time we turn this on, a code will be injected to this form and inherently it will increase the DOM size. But anyway, let's test this. Remember, this is 159, 19, and 11. So now it becomes 166, 19, and 15. And this is the maximum DOM size for the form block. Now for the table of contents and the post, we will not be testing this because the DOM size of these blocks really depends on the content of either the page or of other articles on your website. So there is no way that we can tell because this is a completely new website. And now what I will do is to test the countdown block, and then finally we will test the row layout. And for the Kadence Pro blocks, because I don't want this video to be extremely long, I will put all the test results into a blog article. And when the article is out, I will leave a link in the description. So for now, let's do the countdown test. Let's update this and let's test this. So the countdown block adds a total of 17 DOM elements and it adds 2 to the child elements as well. I'm not sure if we can do any more adjustments to this, but let's test this out. And here we go. Let's update this, refresh, and let's test this. So the DOM elements increased to 170, and this is an increase of 13 elements from the default block. And this is also the maximum DOM size for the countdown timer. And now finally, let's test the most interesting block of all, which is the row layout. Let's put, for example, a paragraph in here. Let's update this. And let's test this. So a 1-column row layout with a paragraph block will add a total of 7 elements to the DOM size. Now, what if it's 2 columns? It adds 3 elements to it. And what if it's 3 columns? It adds another 2 elements. What if it's 4? Oh, sorry, I forgot to add a paragraph. Now the thing is, the DOM size increases with whatever you add to the columns. I'm adding the paragraph block because it's a block that fetches the lowest DOM size, which is 1. And as you can see, if I don't add the paragraph block, the DOM size will be 152. And if I add the paragraph block, it should be 153. And there you go. So every column you add, technically it will increase by 2 elements, minus away the paragraph block I've added. Now what if I reduce the number of columns to 1, and then again I'll play with all the settings, and let's see if it increases the DOM elements or adds to the child elements as well. And here we go. We have practically added whatever we can to bloat the DOM size of this element. Let's update this. And remember, for this block, the default 1-column row layout with the default paragraph block was 147. Let's test this and see what is the maximum DOM size for this 1-column row layout. So there we have it. It adds an additional of 7 elements to the DOM size. And it also adds 2 to the child elements as well. Now the thing we really have to be careful is if we nest row layout after row layouts. So for example, as you can see, within this row layout there are 2 layers. And if we, for example, add a new row layout, select a 1 column, and we select the previous row layout, let's copy this and paste it within the newly row layout we have created, and let's remove the previous row layout. Now over here, as you can see, we have one row layout on top of another row layout. This is very common when you are designing web pages. So let's see what is the impact when we nest one row layout on top of the other. Let's update this. Remember, this is 154, 19, and 11. Let's test this out. So just by nesting one row layout after another, which doesn't make any difference in the design, we have added 5 elements to it. And for the DOM depth, it has increased from 19 to 21. And just imagine you are nesting one element on top of the other within a single row layout. This maximum DOM depth will easily increase to the level that PageSpeed Insights will flag this audit. So just take note of this whenever you are designing your web pages. You don't want to nest too many row layouts on top of each other. Keep it to the bare minimum. I hope you have gained insights to the Kadence blocks, and once again, if you are curious how the Kadence Pro blocks perform, I will leave a link to the article when it's ready. We are talking about the image overlay, the split content, the post grid or carousel, the modal, the video pop-up, and all this. And once again, if you would like me to take a look at the DOM size of other Gutenberg block plugins, feel free to leave a comment down below. I would love to hear from you. Anyway, thank you for sticking around, and I hope to get a thumbs up from you, and if you have done it, thank you. Also, if you want to learn how to build amazing WordPress sites from scratch that loads super fast, you can check out this playlist at the top right, and if you want to know which is the fastest loading WordPress theme, then the video is right at the bottom. So all the best to you, stay cool and stay safe.